to another episode of The Man From Auntie. Now, there was real tragedy in the papers this week with yet another sex scandal. The tragedy being that with tax going up, unemployment staying up and the pound being sold openly in joke shops all over Europe, it takes some sad bloke dead in his stockings for the press to say the government looks vulnerable.
Our first contender is Michael Portillo, Chief Secretary to the Treasury. Your specialist subject, please.
Government excuses, 1991 to 94.
Mr. Portillo, who is responsible for the widely perceived moral decline in this country?
Young bonking royals.
Correct. Despite 15 years of conservative education policy, Britain continues to lag behind academically. Why is this?
Foreigners cheat and buy their A-levels.
Correct. Britain's economy is smaller than that of our major European partners. Why?
We've got to work much harder at getting our message across.
And the message?
Bastard foreign cheating, bastard foreign cheats.
Correct. The Conservatives were elected in 1979 using the slogan, Labour isn't working. Unemployment then stood at 1 million. It is now 3 million.
Of course we're concerned, but if the Labour Party had their way, your children would all be homosexual.
Correct and well anticipated. Crime has soared under your government. Why?
Soviet threat, evil empire, Labour's policy on arms.
No, I'm sorry, that was an excuse from another election. The answer was, of course, Neil Kinnock's freckles. The Treasury recently admitted that apart from the very rich, people now pay more tax than they did under Labour. Explain why.
Cheating foreigners, lesbian teachers, good manners are terribly important. Romeo and Juliet, video nasties.
No, I'm sorry. In fact, no excuse was given, and when pressed, the Prime Minister constantly changed the subject. Mr. Portillo, you've scored 8 points, a figure which, if seasonally adjusted, comes to 3,000. Thank you, and good night.
There was great news about the Channel Tunnel this week when it was announced that the Queen would be opening it on time. Unfortunately, you still won't be able to use it, but you can't have everything, can you?
Hello and welcome to Consumer Watch. With the Channel Tunnel approaching completion, the Sub-Under-Minister of Transport has kindly joined us in the studio tonight to explain exactly how the system works. Sub-Under-Minister.
Yes, well, the trains will start at an embarkation zone here in Paris. Now, the French executive traveller, he boards the luxury executive transporter here in Paris, and this will take him out of Paris and through the Channel Tunnel in 12.5 seconds. On the British side here, the executive traveller is transported from the transporter and transferred to this luxury horse and cart, in which he will make the first part of his journey to London, just as far as the vast, muddy, unfinished building site. Now, the executive's car will meanwhile be transported to this vast car park, which we call Kent. Now, the executive in the horse and cart, having got 2 or 3 miles up the road into the building site, will then transfer back onto the train with the horse and cart, and this will, of course, whisk him to the city of London. Or at least it will do once we've dug the tunnels and built the bridges and laid the track. But meanwhile, it won't get very far. There'll be a small derailment, and then our luxury traveller will be transferred to... Do you see this? This is a luxury executive coach, and he'll be put in the luxury executive coach where he will sit in a luxury contraflow on the luxury M25 until he leaps.
But, Minister, isn't this fiasco simply going to infuriate the French?
Well, we certainly hope so.
Now, it is often suggested that feminists, in demanding equality, are somehow claiming that men and women are the same. Now, this is rubbish. No feminist has ever suggested this. Everyone knows that there are lots of differences between men and women, and they should be celebrated. Here's one. See what you think. Just a thought. Just in my experience, OK? In a boy-girl relationship, a lot of women, not all women by any means, a lot of women have a very strange attitude to chips. Yes, they do, and I shall explain. When a boy and a girl go to a cafe, at the point of ordering the food, she don't want no chips. Do you want chips with that? No, I'll just have a salad. No chips for me, I don't want no chips. But at the point at which her partner's chips arrive on his plate, she develops a desperate desire for a chip, to the point of destroying the relationship. Go on then, give us a chip then. No! You always do this! I asked if you wanted any chips, you said no. Well, I don't want a whole plate, do I? I only want a couple. Well, I want all my chips, not just the ones you choose not to steal. I thought we were supposed to be in love. Love is about sharing, not in this case. It's a point of principle. I'll buy you a plate of chips. Eat two, throw the rest away. Well, now you're just being stupid. So, 10 minutes later, your resolve cracks. Go on then. Have a bloody chip. I don't want one. Of course, the principal difference between men and women has to be the fact that the men are obsessed with their naughty bits. Of course we are. We're forever fiddling with it, playing with it, boasting about it. Yet consider the extraordinary claims made on its behalf. The phallus has been held up as this cultural icon since the Greeks. But what is a phallic symbol? People claim buildings are. Cars are. When did you last see a building that actually looked like a knob? I mean, what did the boss say to the architect when he built the NatWest Tower? Did he say, well, it's very nice so far, but when are you going to put the purple helmet on? Tomorrow? No. Didn't happen. Down at Ferrari, did they say to the design team, well, not bad, lads, but couldn't you use a few bulbous veins running down the side? No, doesn't happen. Since the dawn of time, men have eulogised about their portions. I mean, we've got more words for Willy than Eskimos have got for snow. And yet, we flatter to deceive. Because, you know, let's face it, the knob is pretty pathetic, really. I mean, you know, it never knows what it wants, does it? It grows, it shrinks, gets up, lies down, gets caught in its own fur. I mean, erections are like buses. You can wait 3 hours for one, then get 2 in a row you can't use. Do you want to get on that, love? No? OK, fair enough. No, it's just one on top. No, well, anyway, the willy is silly. And yet the way men talk about it, you'd think they were godlike appendages. I mean, the words we've got for willies. I mean, my pork sword, yes, my pork sword, my throbbing gristle. We're talking about a willy here, you know. My love truncheon. It's pathetic. You don't hear women eulogising about their bits in similarly extravagant terms, do you? You never heard a woman say, beware my mighty muff. No, didn't happen. I mean, there's got to be an explanation. I think men talk so big because we feel so insecure. It's true. A man cannot trust his own body. The only time he can be sure of an upstanding trouser response is when he doesn't want one. First thing on a Monday morning, yes. Where does the morning flagpole come from? I mean, there has never been an adequate explanation. It's always there. It's like an alarm clock. You've got an erection, time to go to work. I mean, it's not sexual, no. No, it isn't. I mean, it looks sexual, but it's not. It's nothing to do with sex. I mean, come on. It's 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. Your eyes are glued together. You've got breath like Bernard Manning's pants. I mean, the last thing on your mind is a bit of nookie. But it can fool young lovers. Oh, yes, the morning... Oh, yeah, your early days in a relationship. She says, oh... Look at that. Were you dreaming about me, then? You say, well, no, as it happens. I was dreaming about loft insulation, actually. Appears to have brought on this whopper. I mean, you can't get rid of it. It won't go. I'm beating it with a slipper. You try and put your socks on, it stabs you in the stomach. You get in the loo, you wee up your nose. You can't get rid of it. It stares at you while you're brushing your teeth. Stop looking at me. It's taunting you. Says, can't get rid of me now, can you? Couldn't find me last night, though. Now, whether we like it or not, all blokes will, to a greater or a lesser extent, all of us will at some point have trouble rising to the occasion. Yes, we will. There may be some lads out there saying, not me, Ben John, the prong me. But it will happen sometime. Maybe tonight. Well, when it does, take my tip, it's easy. It's easy to bring it all back on song. All you have to do is fantasise with your partner. Relax and it'll all come back. But never mind page 3 and suntan bodies and all that. No, no, no. What you have to do is convince your lazy appendage that it's 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. Saturday night, you want a bomb, you just say, oh, dear darling, I'll make the tea, you have the first shower. Boing, up it'll come. You might just squeeze one in before it realises it's been tricked.
Coming soon to BBC One and ITV. Yet another series about an arrogant, chain-smoking, alcoholic, misogynist git who just happens to be brilliant at solving crime.
He's brutally killed 14 girls, he'll kill again. We've all got daughters. I want results.
We're getting nowhere, Frank. We're paper-thin cardboard ciphers. Look at us. Most of our blokes don't have a third dimension. We're tracking a schizoid, multi-personality psycho killer, and we don't have one decent character trait between us.
Well, what do you suggest, Detective Constable? And this had better be good or I'm busting your ass.
The only way you're gonna catch this bastard is to bring in an arrogant, chain-smoking alcoholic whose wife has left him and is incapable of forming proper relationships.
Cliché.
Damn you, cliche. You're incapable of love. You just want someone you can screw.
This is the real world, Cassandra. Everybody's getting screwed. Why should you be any different?
Damn you, cliche. If you could stop drinking, smoking, gambling, sleeping around and shouting, you might be a human being.
Yeah, that's right. A ton each way and a 230.
And that was the last in the current series of Cliché. Next week on the BBC and ITV, there's a new series of Cliché.
I don't care about your rules. You can stuff them. You can stuff your no smoking policy.
I'm leaving you, cliche. Drink, you gamble, you smoke when you're kissing. You don't care about anything but your stupid job.
Shut it.
I'm leaving you, cliche. Just as soon as I've shown my knockers to the camera.
Shut it, shut it, shut it, shut it. Shut it, woman. Shut it, shut it, shut it. Available on Sky in about 3 years' time. Shut it.
Here's another difference between men and women. Now, men do not talk in public toilets. No, we don't. No, we walk straight ahead, looking neither right nor left, giving off a distinctly heterosexual vibe. Yes, we do. If you meet an old friend, you can go, ugh. That's it. That's it. Nothing more exuberant. You just ugh. Anything more might translate as, please, may I have a look at your willy? As is clearly demonstrated by the current parliamentary debate, we live in a homophobic society. Of course we do. It starts in the playground. Poof, fairy, queer. And right from the playground up, men don't know how to express themselves because we're too scared of being misunderstood. We fear the suspicion and contempt of our peers. I mean, that's why blokes get so stupid when they're in groups. We all do it. I mean, how often have you heard a woman say, well, he's all right when he's on his own, but when he's with his mates, he's a right dickhead. You do that. I mean, men, we don't know how to express ourselves. I mean, the fear runs too deep. I mean, we can't hug our mates. No, we can't. Well, we can, but we've got to break their flipping ribs. I love you, mate. I really love you. The hoops men leap through so as not to be misunderstood. You're in a pub, right? You're in a pub, and your best mate comes in. He's been away for 5 years, but he's your bestest, oldest mate. You've not seen him, but he's come home. In any healthy society, you jump up, run across the pub, give him a great big kiss. Can't do it, no. Got to lean back in your chair and go, oi, wanker, naff. Now, I have been informed that women sometimes do talk in toilets. Personally, I can't believe that. The woman who told me, I said, under what circumstances? She said, well, you know, I mean, you might be sat there and you might say, oh, dear. Any paper in yours, then? I said I would rather die. Address a complete stranger's ankles and ask for bog paper. I'd rather have me bum sandblasted clean at a later date. Because... Now, people have sometimes actually asked me, why do you do so much toilet humour? And, of course, a lot of comics do toilet humour. And I've considered it. I've wondered about the idea because people ask. And I think maybe it's because we're performers. Because performers get nervous, and either by a wicked twist of fate or the malign decision of an angry god, the nervous system is located in the bowel. It's true. The backside of a performer ages at twice the rate of the rest of his or her body. Yes, I may only be in my 30s, but my bum can remember the war. All performers have a very close relationship with the toilet because that's where we spend the majority of time before the gig. But again, we can't accept the truth. Nobody can accept the truth. We garnish our lives with prissy language. I saw this actress on Wogan. She said, "Terry, before I played my first Ophelia, I was sick with nerves." Oh, come on. Rubbish. Nobody's ever sick with nerves. She just couldn't say, "I pebble dashed the bathroom before I went on stage." But that's what happens. All performers are in the lav before the gig. There are no exceptions. I don't want to spoil the magic, but Prince, he may be the coolest groover you ever saw, but before the gig, he sat backstage in the lavvy, little glittery knickers round his ankles. But unlike other performers, at least the comedian has comedy with which to exorcise his or her deepest fears and guilt. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? Believe me, I am the scaredest, fartiest person I know. All right? I'm embarrassed about everything. Otherwise, I couldn't write the stuff I do. And yet, the things I've said tonight to millions of people, I mean, do you honestly think that if I was standing in a bus queue tomorrow morning next to just one person, I could turn to them and say, "Do you realise I have a great big crap before I go to work?" No. Comedy is allowed that freedom, and only comedy. No other medium of communication is afforded such linguistic largesse. I mean, a maths teacher can't say, "If a 10-stone man has a 3-pound steak and a 2-pound poo, how much does he weigh?" We are all so desperately uptight about our bodies. I mean, it's true. You might think, "Not me, I'm relaxed," but come on. I mean, if any of you lot, right, watching tonight or here in the studio, were in a lift, OK, with 3 strangers, and you farted, and they knew it was you, you'd have to kill yourself, wouldn't you? Isn't it extraordinary how, despite the colossal scientific sophistication that humanity has achieved, we still are so ill at ease with ourselves? Well, maybe it's a good thing that we maintain a sense of inadequacy. I get worried about the cult of physics. You know, we all admire it so much. Dear old Stephen Hawking, for instance. I bought his book, A Brief History of Time. Couldn't understand a flipping word of it. I love that new telecom ad he does, where he whitters on about how the world will be at peace if we all keep talking. It's nice to know that when your gran spends half an hour telling a wrong number about her bunion, she's doing a bit for world peace, isn't it? Why do we have such faith in scientists? When I was at school, they told us that in days gone by, simple folk believed the world was balanced on the back of a tortoise. We laughed. What a bunch of prats, we said. Ho, 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 because we know better, don't we? Oh, yeah, apparently, according to the scientists, there was this tiny lump of infinitely dense stuff that exploded one day, and as the energy and the stuff blasted out from the epicentre, it formed into stars and galaxies, and it's still hurtling outwards to this very day. I think the story about the tortoise was a touch more convincing, don't you? There's always articles in the Sunday papers. They say things like, "When the universe was 3 seconds old, protons began to form." I mean, they might as well say hedgehogs began to form. 100 years from now, school kids will be laughing at us because they'll have discovered that actually the universe got farted out of the bum of a giant space elephant. I blame Tomorrow's World. Everything was always great on Tomorrow's World. I mean, particularly when I used to watch it in the early 70s, when it was on before Top of the Pops. It was a wonderful time. Everything was getting better and brighter and shinier. Slade were at #1. What happened? Raymond Baxter lied. All those Tomorrow's Worlds were talking rubbish. Things didn't get better. We don't all have little robots that do the housework and wash the car and suck the fluff out of your belly button. No, it never happened. Imagine if Tomorrow's World had really known the truth back then. Ooh. 20 years from now, in the 1990s, the way people live their lives will have changed radically. Conventional housing, for instance, will be disappearing. Instead, scientists will have developed these. The idea is very simple. You simply tear up the box, put it in a doorway, and instantly you have a bed, a home, or a toilet. Simple.
The advances science will make are boundless and enormously exciting. In the 1990s, people will be enormously excited by these. It's called a widget. And it's a brilliant way of persuading people to buy crap beer.
Sue.
Simon, a marathon bar. A familiar sight on any busy high street. Chocolate, nougat, caramel, and peanuts. Popular to us, but sweet teachers at the turn of the millennium will be enjoying something very different altogether. Because by the early 1990s, scientists will have changed the name of marathon to Snickers. It will be exactly the same bar, but it'll be called Snickers. And fascinatingly, even in our high-tech future, no one will know why.
So, you recognise these? An ordinary washroom hand towel. Well, by the early 1990s, they will have been replaced by this, a blow hand dryer, which will emit a warm air current from this orifice at roughly the pressure and temperature that's produced by a flatulent flea. Now, what the people of the future will do is pathetically wave and waggle their hands about underneath the dryer for 2 or 3 seconds before drying their hands on their trousers.
Simon, finally, if I was to say to you that in 20 years' time, cars will be non-polluting, energy will be safe, renewable and available to all, medicine will be pain-free and affordable, and that the Prime Minister will know what he was doing, you'd probably say I was talking crap. And you'd be right.
Good night. We presume that technology has enhanced our lives. Of course we do. But is it actually the case? Think about it. Have we become slaves to the genius of a few inventors? Is technology destroying our social skills, negating our personalities? Tellies in pubs, for instance. A pub is a place to meet and talk. I don't want a telly in my pub. I haven't got a beer tap in my living room, have I? No. I mean, look, I'm a Democrat. If everybody was watching it, fair enough. But when was the last time you went in a pub and everyone turned around and said, shh, Doc's about to tell us who she slept with last night? No, it's just there. They turn the sound down, but it's there. And I say nobody's watching it, but in fact we all are. Because your eye is inevitably drawn. You can't keep your eyes off it. The hypnotic powers of a mute television would put Paul McKenna to shame. You can't stop looking. You could be having the most interesting conversation you've ever had. You could be saying, really, Justin Fashion, who was actually sleeping with the minister for... But if you're looking at you can't help it. Your eye is drawn. It could be anything. It could be Terry Wogan. Normally you wouldn't watch him if you'd had your brains removed. The only reason you'd have him on is if you were having it off on the carpet in front of the telly and your bum hit the remote control. That's the only one. You'd be like, oh yes, darling, this is beautiful. I love it, darling. Click. Here's a lovely Charlene from the Emerald Isle. Wouldn't you give her a big hand? Oh no, instant flopper. It'd be gone in a moment. If Terry's grinning at you with the sound down from across a crowded pub, you can't stop looking. It's astonishing, the mesmerising powers of mute televisions. I'll tell you what, they should use them for better purpose. I mean, they could use them to diffuse dangerous situations. You got 500 rioting soccer hooligans giving it, England, England. All they've got to do is suspend mute television sets above their heads with a silent documentary about tree frogs or something on it. They're going, England, England. Oh, look at that. And yet we say nothing. We fail to object as slowly our lives are taken over. We never stand up for ourselves against the onslaught of technology. I mean, I'm there, I'm the idiot. I'm sat in a pub saying, why don't they turn that telly off? Nobody's watching it, why don't they turn it off? But if some brave soul, some Sir Galahad were actually to stand up and say, is anybody actually watching this? I'll be going, oh no, he's making a scene, I can't handle the embarrassment.
Since my hubby became a government minister, he leads such a busy life. I never know how many I'm cooking for.
This is Arabella, darling, my current mistress.
You could have warned me. Oh, well. Thank goodness for stock cubes. A plateful of this shite will soon wipe the smiles off their faces.
This inability to accept the facts about our bodies lead to some truly extraordinary language. Consider the language of pregnancy. Now, you cannot get a more natural or beautiful human condition, and yet the linguistic cover-up goes on. She's having his baby. What a lovely idea. She's having his baby. Lovely phrase, isn't it? The male contribution, we should remind ourselves of being a small, fish-like creature. You'd need about 1 million to make a decent hors d'oeuvre. But 9 months later, she's had his baby. Well, by all means. But at least let us extend the principle to its logical conclusion. A couple of months into your pregnancy, girls, give him a little bag full of semi-digested carrot chunks. Say, that's your morning sickness, dear. I've had it for you. Nobody ever tells it straight. Oh, we wouldn't dream of telling kids about a stork these days, would we? We're far too sophisticated for that. Oh, yeah? Yeah, in toy shops, you can get this doll, right? It's like a Barbie doll, except it's pregnant. And a little girl, and it's always a little girl, takes off the big fat tummy, and there's a little baby underneath. And she takes out the baby and puts on a flat tummy. I think the story about the stork was a touch more convincing, don't you? Because it's a flat tummy, right? You see, there's no stretch marks or anything like that. No, and the doll's tits, they stay the same, yeah. They're still pointing upwards, yeah. You don't put a new set of tits on that are polishing the doll's shoe. No varicose veins, no hemorrhoids. Oh, dodgy subject. Now, hemorrhoids have to be the ultimate pregnancy taboo. Nobody mentions the fact that sometimes having kids gives you piles. It's a complete shock. Even your mum keeps quiet about it. She ring her up and say, Mum, great news, I'm pregnant. She never says, well, that's wonderful, love, but your bum may start bleeding. No. Nobody tells the truth. Friends of mine have said, why didn't anybody tell me? I got sent loads of cards with Peter Rabbit on them, teddy bears, fluffy white socks. I got so many fluffy socks I could have given birth to an octopus. Nobody sent me a tube of retinol, did they? No. You have to go and get your own retinol. Yeah. Got to go down to the chemist in your full blue. Yeah. And it's amazing how, along with all the other pressures pregnant women have to put up with, they also have to take on the happiness of everyone else. You meet someone in the street, they're pregnant, you say to them, oh, how you feeling, love? How you feeling? They can say, oh, a bit tired. That's what they say. They say, oh, a bit tired. That's all they can say, you see. Again, language disguises reality. They're not allowed to say the truth, eh? Which is, get out of my way, you fatuous old bag, me bum's killing me and I'm trying to buy some retinol. No! They say, oh, a bit tired. Discretion in all things, ladies. That's the way. Like with those discreet Lillet boxes you can get. They're great, aren't they? The manufacturers are so considerate with your delicate female sensibilities. Because the box, it doesn't say Lillettes or tampons or periods or nothing like that. It's just a little flowery box, you see. It's all pink and blue and flowery little pink flowers. It's like a little present, isn't it? It's like a little stocking filler. For me. What can it be? Oh, the box is so discreet I couldn't guess. Lillettes, how wonderful. I think those boxes are a bit too discreet, yeah? I've seen women stick their hands in their pockets for a cigarette. They end up trying to light a Lillette. Much less discreet than that as a thing that expands inside your mouth. What is the thinking behind discreet tampon boxes? I mean, what else could it be? It's so no one will ever know you've got your period, girls. It's so no one will ever guess the shame of your menstruation. So no one will twig the dirty secrets of your dirty bodies. Get thee to a nunnery, thou bleeding hag! With discreet tampon boxes, no one will ever know you've got your period. Oh, yeah. I think the fact that you've got a hot water bottle clamped to your guts and you're trying to knife everyone you meet might just give it away. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. You've been great. Thanks a lot. My name's Ben Elton. Good night.
Ben Elton is back in 2 weeks.